Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, we'll be covering how to use Google Slides to make a poster. It's not ideal, there's better software for this, but any kind of storyboarding software requires a little more effort to use than Slides, so we recommend for our course using Slides. A lot of professionals or research scientists do it this way. If you want to be really fancy, you can try looking into InDesign or some other storyboarding software that give you a little more flexibility. So let's look at our learning objectives. Our objectives here are really just how do we, inside Google Slides, change the poster size, make that something a little more standard, add text, add shapes, add borders, pictures, align figures, and then download our result. So I'm just going to go over here. I have open a slide here. One thing I want to mention is you can get templates for a lot of this. So if you go on a website like Slides Go that has a lot of good free things, you can download some templates and just use those. Uh, I recommend not taking anything that looks like this. Like this is awful. There's so many colors there. Go with something that's just a little simple and basic. You know, you want a nice, gentle color scheme, high contrast, whatever. Uh, but I like to go at my own sometimes, so we can cover that too. So the very first thing you want to do, basically no matter what, is you want to make sure your slide is the right size. So the default slide is going to be this 16 by 9 widescreen, but fairly small slide. So we want to change the size of our slide, which if we go to page setup, we can do custom. We want to set this to inches, and we want to make this usually a 4x8, which is 4 foot by 3 foot 36 inch poster. So now this is our poster slide. Honestly, because we do our posters as a digital format, you're not printing them. You can change this to a slightly wider 16 by 9 format. That's fine. Um, Let me quick Google what that would look like. So we have done the math and we want 64. So this will still project well on our projectors because we have a lot of widescreen projectors. Uh, and let's go. So that's how we can change our poster size. We can make that whatever we want. It's not a huge deal if you don't remember to do that and you work on the tiny 1920 1080 pixel default slide, but it will make it much harder for your TA to grade, which you don't want to make things hard for your TA to grade because an unhappy TA is maybe not going to evaluate some gray areas as fairly as a happy TA. They're only human. So now I'm going to delete some of the starting stuff. If you have a template, great. This will save you a lot of work. The default settings here don't really help us that much. So let's just talk about different things we can do. We can add text down. So you can click this text tool up here. You can write some stuff in here. Notice that this is now very tiny. We are going to want to change this to something legible. So 48, 36. Uh, you really want to make sure whatever you make can be read by your uh, audience at the end of the day. A good test for that is to turn on slideshow mode, walk away from your screen, and see if you can read this. So honestly, for this size poster, this is probably still a little small. That's probably better. So you can put down as many text boxes as you want. You can resize them. You can change this do not auto fit setting, which I highly recommend. I like to lay out my text boxes so that they cover the poster. Maybe I'll have like a heading, a title box, an author box, all that fun stuff. Hey, Jordan. We can add shapes. So if you want to be simple, and I do recommend erring on the side of simple, you can kind of storyboard your background here. So maybe I want a gray background. I want a uh, dark gray header up here. Notice that because I drew this after my text, it got put behind my text. Or in front of my text, I can just change the order and send it to the back. If I want to, I can rotate these things. A lot of creativity options here. Of course, I don't think Slides has uh, layer functions to it, which is another reason you might want to make this in a different software. But maybe I want this to be a little darker, so we'll make it this. Obviously, my text doesn't pop anymore, so I'm going to change my text so it's a little higher contrast. We'll center align that, whatever. Now this should be bigger, bigger. We can add borders to this thing, so maybe I want a figure, like I want to have 3 columns on here. Actually, we're going to go with the rounded column because that'll look better. So we'll do bam, and maybe we'll fill this in a little bit. So we'll go a little bit darker, maybe a little bit lighter. A bit lighter, we'll make this one a little darker, give us some contrast there. And then we'll put a border around this. So borders are very nice. You can change all kinds of settings with them. I want a fatter border. And then we can copy that. We can set down a few of these. Obviously, these are not quite the size I'm looking for, but maybe this is fine. I'll make this big one kind of that. Notice how as I'm dragging these around, I get different things to help me align them. So right now it's trying to center line them on my poster. That's the dead middle. I can, if I hold like the control key or thing, I can do different manipulations. So notice it's now moving both of those at the same time. These are not equidistant from the edges. Except my curvature is also different now, so maybe I'm not loving this curve. Ooh, what's this? Oh, okay, there we go. We can fix that. We can fix our curvature. Um, Not great, but whatever. Okay, we're fine with this. Maybe we'll make it black. Then I want to put a text box in here or whatever. We'll come back for that. So quick, revisit where we are. We can add text, we can add shapes, we can add borders. Let's put some pictures in here. Let's talk about that. So maybe I did some research, I pulled up my baby dragons, and I learned all kinds of cool stuff about them, and I want to get these into my my pictures here, my posters. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste that. It's good that it's that big. And then maybe I don't like how much space that's taking up. So we'll make that a little sharper on the end. We'll do that for all of our corners so we have some symmetry going on here. I'm eyeballing it here because I don't think I can do it any other way. Ideally, I'd want to define that curvature. So here we have weight. Let's get our wingspan graph, file, copy, edit copy. Paste that down too. We're going to align these. We're going to make them the same size. We're going to give them both borders so that they are a little more distinct from each other. There we go. And we're going to play with some of our line things. I'm not sure these are the same size. Right, headset died for real there. So I want to make sure these are the same size. And to do that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Too much. I think there's a quick zoom function. Just going to make sure that this snaps so that it's the same size. And I'm a stickler for this kind of visual congruency. Then we'll go back, we'll zoom back out so we can see what we're doing. Boom, boom. These are a little bit too big for this box, so we'll shrink them both. And then that's probably good enough. They're centered. We can add a text box under that. onto auto fit. I'm going to go back up to that. What did we say was good? 60? So we'll have figure whatever number this is. On a poster, it's probably figure 3, but figure 1, lay it left. Weights of dragons. 2, right. Wingspans of dragons. SD shown. And ideally, I would have done some kind of statistics, and include that information in there, whatever. I have another graph in here that I want to pull in, so we'll bring this guy. Here's an interesting thing. I know I'm going to put this in my poster, and maybe I want to use up this entire space down here. I'm actually going to resize this before I export it from Jump. Uh, I'm just going to put it on my poster and try to size it the way I want it. So that looks okay. Edit, copy, paste. It's a little smaller than I thought it would be, but we'll just go back to Jump. We'll make it a little wider so that we can get this other marking in here. Edit, copy, paste. This is a pretty high resolution image, so it should scale up kind of okay. Let's zoom in, check the quality. So that's not bad. Compared to that, it's not as good as that though. So we'll just go back to Jump, make it a little bigger. Again, if this was an actual storyboarding software like InDesign, we could actually export these as really fancy high resolution things and put those in there, but all right, there we go. We'll copy that. Copy paste is your friend for this. Figure 2, weight versus wingspans of dragon, dragons. Yeah, heavier dragons have larger wingspans. Maybe something like that. Whatever. And then, I go through, I can fill in the rest of my stuff. Maybe I have more figures, maybe I have some visual introduction, a visual method, a discussion, some references, all that good stuff I can plop in here. And then I want to download it. So for our course, we want to do this download PDF. That'll save your document as a PDF. In the very first lab, we tell you to save it as a PNG because we're going to do other stuff with it. One thing worth mentioning that you can do in slides is you can add other annotations. So like we talked about the shapes and stuff, you can put circles on things. Notice you can make these transparent uh, in case you want to bring attention to something. So now I have this big circle, and maybe I want to highlight this outlier down here. Bam. Or maybe I want to do that with an arrow. Bam. We're going to make it red again. We're going to make it big. Boom. No, there's our outlier. Something like that, we could do it. So I hope that helps. This is about the extent of the skills you need to work in slides. Uh, I do want to cover bulleted lists real quick. So let's say you have your discussion over here. See if I got that remotely close. We want to go up to our font size 60. And I want to put a bulleted list in here. So I have this. I say blah, blah, blah. Dragons are cool. And then I want to go in for my next one. I would pay attention to where the bullets end up. Generally, If you don't change the slide, they justify too far. If you make the slide huge like this, they actually don't justify far enough. You can change the justification up here. So if we select this guy, we click, I think this one. I think if we click this bottom one, it drags everything. If you click just the top one, it moves just the bullet. Um, we add more text to. So if I move this top one, it only moves the top bullet. So we just want to be careful, cautious that we're moving the right one. If you move the bottom one, it moves everything. So generally, I like that a little bit offset, and then your sub bullets should be even more offset. Ideally by the same amount that this is offset from that, so that you have a nice diagonal going down. Some breathe fire, some breathe frost, some breathe I have no idea and I don't want to know. And then you just do that. Why, there we go. The sub-bulleting might require some manual effort on your part. Note that when I drag this, it does tell me the exact distance it's at, so that does make this a little bit easier. So just drag them all to like 2.25 for the one and 1.25 for this one. I'm guessing this one starts at 0, so maybe this should really be at 1. And then this one can be at 2, but whatever. Live your best life. So very quick, well, 15 minutes, 16 minutes. How to make a poster. Uh, there's a lot of design and things that go on here too. Try to avoid any particularly garish or offensive color combinations. I'm really bad about this. Try not to use red and green in case your TA is red-green colorblind or your audience is red-green colorblind. There are lots of websites out there that can look at contrast for you. Contrast is, well, all of this is covered in the poster handbook. So I defer there for some of the design ideas and implementations and resources. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.